What's going on YouTube? Hey guys, it's Ben. Thank you so much for checking out another one of my videos. You know this is the channel where we talk about recruitment, staffing, entrepreneurship, business, pretty much everything in between. If you like that stuff, smash the subscribe button right now if you're not already a subscriber, and let's jump right into it. So today I wanted to talk about something kind of philosophical, but definitely practical to business. So if you really want to help someone, solve a problem for them, don't just sell them something. Now, this is something you may or may not have heard before, but uber successful people like billionaires, multi-millionaires, whoever it may be, people that have gone to the upper echelons of success will always tell you that they've created something, and you can see it visually, that helps people solve a problem. They didn't just sell them something, right? Ultimately, you can create a billion widgets and sell it to a billion people, make $1 billion, but the majority of successful billionaires and things like that have created solutions for people. They've solved problems. They've gone in and, created like efficiency where there was inefficiency, or they've brought a solution where there was a huge problem, or sometimes they've done something for someone that they just can't do themselves, and therefore they've solved someone's problem. Or a lot of the times they've just brought in something where people didn't even realize they needed it, and they do need it in fact, and it solved a problem for them, and just by intuitively adding it, they've solved a problem and added success to their own life and to the consumer or to the end user or whomever it is, right? So solving a problem is so much bigger and better than just selling someone something. Now, I know this sounds like kind of simplistic, but if you dive deep into it, it's really, really important in business overall. Just when you consider what you're doing, your philosophy, how you act, what you do, and your whole mission as a business overall, right? If you're just going about something to sell someone something, just simply selling them a product or a service or something as a transaction, your money for my thing or my service or whatever it is, versus solving an actual problem that creates a better life, and a better outcome for the individual who's involved, right? So in recruiting, this is really simplistic, right? Solving a problem for someone, it is basically an equation, right? So there's candidates and then there's clients. And the lack of candidates for the clients means lack of productivity, lack of revenue generation. So, a surplus or an addition of candidates or a single candidate means more productivity or, more endeavors or more business ventures, etc., and just overall more revenue generation. So you're solving a problem inherently in recruiting. So, I would say that basically that's a really simple equation, but the idea is to not sell this to someone, right? So in the recruiting business, we don't want to sell that to somebody. We want to solve their problem. You want to approach this from a problem-solving standpoint. Now, how do you do that, right? So it's just, number one, you actually just consult with someone, right? So you figure out what their pain point is, what their issue is, and what they're lacking and what they need. And that's really important because at the end of the day, that's going to help you go get the best candidates for them that don't turn over, that produce the best for them, and that are ultimately the best for their bottom line and for you ultimately, so you shine and look good, right? So solving their problem is huge in that manner. Another element is it's just the right thing to do. It's just the right way to go about it. It just does not work when you simply sell someone staffing services, pass over candidates and say, here you go, collect your money and be done with it. That business model doesn't work in the long term, right? You have to understand that inherently you need to be solving problems for people, helping them along the way, and not just selling them a service and just saying, hey, see ya, good doing business with you. It's going to, potentially taint your name. It's going to potentially, ruin any residual business potential with them. You're not going to be doing right by them just by simply kind of cutting ties, maybe sending them 2 candidates, maybe one of them works out and, you pass your guarantee and then you're gone. It's just not the right way of doing business. And then I would say, on the second sense, it's just not something that you can actively sell to someone. Recruiting is not something that you can actually sell. Like you can't do it. It's a solutions-based service. So inherently you have to be helping someone when you're doing recruiting, and you have clients that you're recruiting for and things like that. So you're not really selling anything anyways, even if you wanted to. Yes, you're collecting fees for your services, but you're not really selling them something. So keep that in mind. Like, understand that concept at the core. This is super important for the success and longevity of your business as a whole, right? So how do you solve someone's problem in the recruiting world? Like, what is it that you can do? What are some core values and things that you can apply when you work with different clients and stuff? So I would say one is that you become a guide, right? You picture yourself as a Sherpa helping someone climb Everest. Like, what's the issue? What's the problem? What are the obstacles? What are we going to need to encounter? You've been here before. You've done this. You know what's up. Like, you have the know-how, so you're the guide. You're going to be the person that's helping them up the mountain and figure out all of their issues and climb over the obstacles. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to consult. A lot of people, clients, right, have bad ideas. And they have, you know, good intentions, but bad ideas on how to implement. So as a consultant, your approach is helping them solve their problems by consulting them on their bad ideas and bad implementation and guiding them again back into the right pathway. Like, your interview process is 3 in-person interviews and like 3 online assessments. Well, candidates really don't like that, and candidates have a lot of options. So maybe you should cut that all by like 75%, have maybe 1, maximum 2 in-person interviews and a really good phone screen, and cut it at that, right? And that's good enough. Like, as a Sherpa, as a guide, you know that that's good enough because you've dealt with enough candidates to know how to read them out and understand them. Some clients just think they need to send them 5 assessments, 3 in person, and like 2 phone screens, right? They just think that's how the process needs to go. Oh, and by the way, they think that needs to last 2 months long, right? It doesn't. So you consult them on these things and you help them out in those ways and solve their problems, right? Another one is, say, you know, like I just said, giving them input, just giving them raw input, right? Being, you know, bold enough to actually tell your client, like, really, you know, this is the candidate you want to go with. This candidate has XYZ red flags or yellow flags, and this is the one that you probably want to move forward with, right? You're consulting them, you're giving your input, and you're helping them solve that problem by showing them the right way and guiding them away from the bad pathway that you know is probably going to result in just, you know, a bunk candidate or something that's not going to work out. And coming up with creative ideas, just, you know, creating new concepts and new ideas for their interview process. Maybe they don't even have an interview process, right? So a lot of times working with brand new clients, maybe in tech, maybe in sales, might be in general labor, whatever it is. A lot of times in general labor, actually, their process is flawed. And, you know, coming up with creative concepts and creative ways, maybe even on your own, just on the forefront, on the forescreen, on how you would actually screen candidates, bring them in, and then giving the hiring manager some really good input and creating some really good concepts on how they can take in the candidate from there to, you know, double back on your questions and make sure that everything aligns and stuff like that. So I would say that in the recruiting world, you have to be solving people's problems to have success, definitely in the long run. Now, I want to finish this video off by absolutely saying, no matter what, right? You're in the recruiting business, you have agreements with people, you're gonna get paid. Don't worry, calm down, right? Solving problems versus selling doesn't mean you don't get paid. Of course you're gonna get paid. You're gonna get fees for every time you place someone, and you'll get more fees as you solve bigger problems. That's why, you know, as you move upwards in recruiting in the upper echelon, right? I talk about, you know, general labor, you know, mid-level skill, and then I talk about the top upper echelon, which is, you know, C-level, executive, VP, director, etc., all that stuff. Those are bigger problems to solve, right? You know, people with niche experience, right? That, you know, have, you know, tons of financial experience or tons of marketing or leadership and all of that, right? You're solving bigger problems, and the bigger problems you solve, the bigger fees you're going to collect, right? You don't think that, you know, people are making $30,000, $40,000 placement fees when they're placing a C-level executive, or even more, $50,000, $60,000 for an attorney or someone very high caliber that's going to bring in a ton of revenue, right? And those people have high worth and high value, and they solve really big problems. So when you help someone, like a client, bring someone in like that, you're solving a huge problem for them like that. And of course you're going to collect collect a huge fee for that, right? So the bigger problems that you solve for people, the more fee you'll collect. So ultimately, this does relate back to making tons and tons of money in recruiting, because I'm saying that solving problems is better than selling someone something, and the bigger problems that you solve, the more money you're gonna make. That's all I've got today, guys, for Tuesday. I hope you're having an awesome week so far. I will catch you for sure on Wednesday. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Take care.